Let me know when everyone gets in the room, and I'll do a few shout outs when we've got everyone with us. Okay, welcome to today's panel. Welcome to Business Keeps On Dancing. Yeah, we've got a few people in already. Great. Thanks to everyone who's took the time out to tune in today. I'm going to do a few questions in the chat to begin with, just to see who we've got with us today. Got quite a few people, which is great. Thanks for spending your Thursday lunchtime with us. So I'm going to start off with a few questions. So first up, I want to know where everyone's tuning in from. If you could drop in the comments where you're at the moment. Got London, Leeds, Brazil. Wow. Belgium, Edinburgh. A few more from London. Liverpool. Hopefully another Scouser. France, Aberdeen, Manny. Great. Love it. Okay. So we want to start off with a few polls just to find out where you guys are up to. So if you're a first timer and you've not joined the panel before, give us a little wave in the comments. Hopefully a lot of you have joined us before, so you're used to the format and what we'll dig into. Okay, cool. Quite a few first timers. Who's tuned into every single panel? Anyone? Tom, nice one. Biggest fan. All right, nice one. Good to see. So we're going to kick off with a few polls, and I just want to find out a bit more around where you guys are up to. I'm sure many of you are thinking about launches. We can ask a few questions around anything you need to know in particular. So Ryan, my super assistant in the background, is going to help us with these polls. So first one, we want to find out if anyone has launched already. So we'll do a quick poll in the chat. If you could get that up, Ryan. Tell us if you've already launched, or tell us if you've not launched yet and you're kind of thinking through your plans at the moment. So keep an eye out in a sec, and hopefully Ryan should have this poll up. Okay, cool. So we've got the poll in there. Has anyone launched already? Most people know, so I'm hoping we can help you out today. Some people seem to have launched already, maybe before Christmas. If you have launched already, it's not to say you won't find any value from the panel today. A lot of what we talk about with Moments applies to not only the launch, but straight through the campaign up until the day of the event, and how you can keep people engaged in that way. So we'll definitely have some interesting takeaways for you guys too. I've got another question to ask about timeline. So is anyone launching this month? And Ryan, if you could do yes, no, or not sure. So we should have the poll ready in a few minutes on the right-hand side. So is anyone launching this month? Yes, no. Some of you might not be sure. You're kind of waiting to see when the time's right. So about half of people aren't launching this month. Well, 20% of people are planning to, and then we've got 30% of people who aren't sure, which is all good. I think it's, as we all know, there's many moving parts that goes into launches with everything that's going on. So what we want to do today, and I think an important thing to think, even if you don't know when you're going to launch, or if you're launching this month or next month, I think it's important to just have a plan ready, start to really think when you do come back, how do you come back with a bang? How can you make sure that you're going to stand out from all the other events and brands that are going out? So yeah, it's beneficial to start thinking of that now. Obviously, first week back, I'm sure everyone's gearing up to go again. So hopefully we can help you guys out today. And one last question that I want to do on the poll, I want to find out if everyone's got their launch plan, their launch strategy sorted. Have you started thinking about it, or are you tuning in today to get a bit of insight and maybe use some insights today to input on how you plan to launch? So give us a yes, a no, still working on it, and then maybe a final answer of not sure what to do. The poll should come up on your right-hand side shortly. Okay, poll should be up now. So has anyone got the plan sorted? If anyone says yes, then you're the most organised people that we've probably got in the room. A few people are working on it, about 60%. They're probably in progress now. Quarter of you have not started planning just yet, and then we've got 13% who are not sure. So yeah, all good. Don't feel any pressure if you've not started just yet. I think no matter what stage you're at with the planning, I'm sure when we go through the examples with all the panelists that we've got today, you should be inspired or get some takeaways that you can apply to your launch and your campaign that's coming up. So nice one. Thanks for taking part in the polls. And we've got a competition that we want to do, and it's really been inspired by what the topic is around today. So we've got a book called The Power of Moments, and this book has been quite pivotal really in everything that we do with Mustard Media. It's really inspired the way that we approach launches, the way that we plan our campaigns. Really all comes down to the power of moments. And you might have heard us discuss this in one of the previous panels where we spoke about customer service and how you can actually break the script and rise above expectations of what a customer would usually expect to see from a brand, and that can actually serve as a marketing tool. So yeah, this book's great. Can't recommend it highly enough. And we've been really inspired on this for a lot of launches that we've done for our own festivals. So I'm going to give away a copy of it to everyone, to one lucky winner who's tuned in today. I just want you to tell us an answer to a question. So we love getting feedback from everyone who's tuned in, and with all the panels that we do, we want to make sure that we provide as much value for everyone who's tuned in. So in the comments, to enter the competition, could you tell us what topic, what question, any big challenge or blocker that you seem to face that you'd like us to discuss on a future panel? If you could let us know in the chat if you've got any burning questions or anything that you want us to chat about in future, and we'll consider that for the next series that we're currently in the process of planning. So it can be really broad, it could be something really specific, everything from paid media, social media, email, website, timelines, anything that you think really. Let us know in the chat, and we're going to pick one person from the chat to win a copy of the book. And I'll go through some of the answers as people put them in the chat. So we've got public confidence messaging. That's a really big one that we all need to think about in the next few weeks. And I think transparency is going to be really key to building customer confidence. And I'm sure there's going to be many hurdles along the way. That's a good one to touch on. We've got how to get the tone right when promoting events in uncertain times. Quite a similar question. Executing an effective social media strategy on a small budget. Very good question, and I think we're all often working to very tight timelines, and you know, we haven't got the biggest budgets in the world, but there are ways around that. I think that's a good topic. We've got how to sell tickets for B2B conferences and events. Really good question, and I think it's really important to bear in mind that when we talk about events, it's not just house and techno, and it's not just electronic events. We work with many different types of events, from food markets to conferences to LGBT plus fundraisers. So really, a lot of the tactics that we discussed today can be applied to many different industries and many different events. We've got another one around what to talk about after the launch. Really good question. I think it's such a buzz to get a lineup or get an event out there and launch, and then when you decompress afterwards, it's very much thinking about the challenges of what next. How do I keep their momentum up? How can I create the next spike to hit my targets and hopefully sell out the event? Okay, we've got quite a few questions in there, so I'm just going to ask Ryan if you could log some of the questions that we've had so far, and then at the end of the panel today, I'm going to pick one winner to win a copy of this book, and hopefully that'll help you out with your own campaigns as well. So we'll come back to that at the end. So yeah, that's us for the intro. I'm going to talk a bit more about the topic to begin with, and just dig a bit deeper into what moments mean, how can we apply them to our campaigns, and then we'll jump into the topic and our panelists as well. So yeah, we'll start off with the power of moments, and this is a book, as I said, that's really inspired what we do. And just to give a bit more context around what a moment is, Chip and Dan Heath in the book explain it as being a short experience that's memorable, it's meaningful, it's something that you connect with, it's something that you really remember. And when all of us think back, if you think of anything that you really remember in your life, it all comes down to these defining moments that often shape our lives, but you'll find in most instances it happens by accident or luck or fate. You've got big defining moments like getting married or landing the job that you really wanted to get. Then you've also got smaller experiences that you often find that you didn't really expect to have. So, you know, things like when you go to a hotel and they've left a nice chocolate on your pillow, or anytime you've experienced a service and that person has gone over and above to really give you the best service they could. They are the things that people remember, and it's often they're the things that you go back and tell your friends and family about, and that really creates that word of mouth. So what we want to highlight today is that paying attention to these defining moments really opens up a whole world of possibilities for brands, events, and festivals. So I'm going to give you a bit more insight into the types of moments that you can create, and hopefully that'll give you some more context into your own campaigns and how that applies to your own brand. So in the book, Chip and Dan Heath do quite a lot of research on what all these different types of moments are and what do they have in common. So they identified 4 different types of moments. The first type of moment is a moment of elevation. So these are moments that really rise above the everyday. You could call it, you know, surprise and delight, things that you just don't really expect to see from a brand as a customer. And there's one really good example that really stood out in the book from a hotel in LA, which is called Magic Castle Hotel. I'm pretty sure most people won't have heard about it. So it's not like one of your massive chains that you might expect to book in LA. So there's nothing really special about it. You know, the rooms aren't the best, the pool's pretty standard. But the Magic Castle Hotel actually became one of the top rated hotels in LA. And the way that they did that was quite interesting. So where they had the pool, they had this big red phone. And if you were by the pool, you could pick up the phone and it was a popsicle hotline. And you could order 3 popsicles. A butler would come out with a silver tray, give you a popsicle by the pool. Great. And that just created such great word of mouth and a lot of hype around the hotel in itself. They did set up a few other quirky things around the hotel, probably to make up for the actual quality of the rooms and the space in itself, but that actually helped them become the highest rated hotel in the whole of LA, and I'm sure they were going up against much bigger competition. But I think that really goes to show the power of moments and how that one little moment, that one little activation, which probably hasn't cost them too much, has helped them really raise the profile of the hotel. And a lot of what they speak about in this book is about, with moments of elevation, it's about building peaks. It's about trying to rise above the routine. A lot of what they talk about is around breaking the script. So people have an expectation of a brand. And I think if we put the lens on this through the eyes of an event, people expect to see a lineup, go and buy the tickets, they check out, get the confirmation, and they look forward to the event. Great, sounds good. But what I want everyone to think about today is how can you break that script and do something that people aren't really expecting you to do, that's going to really stick out in their memory, but also it's going to create more affinity between the customer and the brand. One example we've got is A&P Lost and Found. So every year we try and raise the bar with our lineup launch. So for many years we'd go out with the lineup, we'd get great hype, sell loads of tickets, it was all good. But we really wanted to break the script on what that formula was for getting lineups out and for getting different announcements out. So we'd go away and work with Annie's team to think of a really good video concept that people didn't really expect to see. So the first year that we did it, we got Annie in a bingo hall, and it was the idea that she was going to be playing bingo, and the lineup was going to be revealed throughout the video. When we got there, there's obviously all like these old local people who were just in there playing bingo and had no idea what was going on. So the plan was just to kind of film Annie, going through the reveal, but they were really up for getting involved. I don't think they really had any idea of who Annie was, but they ended up in the video. We had this one woman who was the absolute star of the show. And yeah, when we put it out around the lineup launch, we really built up to it and we got a great reaction, and it led to one of our best ever weeks of sales. And I think it really goes to show the power of creating moments in a launch. It's different. People don't expect it. It's what people remember about the brand. I think people really come to it to expect something different every time we launch. And those videos are still getting talked about to this day. And then since then, we've always been trying to think of, you know, different ideas and different ways that we could reveal the lineup to get our audience talking and get people really tuned in. We can look at some other examples as well outside of just festivals and events. So if you look at things like football clubs and their social media content, I'm a big Liverpool fan, if anyone didn't already know. But every year the team go out and surprise really unsuspecting kids in schools. So the kids are sat there, they think they're just doing a little soundbite for the TV channel, and the next minute one of the players will pop out the curtains and they're absolutely shell-shocked. But it just gets me every time, and I love it. And I think it's unexpected. You know, the club don't really need to do that, but it really creates an elevating moment that you don't expect from, you know, something as big as a Premier League football club. But they'll go out of their way to break that script and do something special for the fans. So what I think everyone should be thinking about with their launches, but just about their campaigns moving forward, is what can you do for your brand customers, your festival customers, the people who go to your events and follow you on social media? What can you do that's really going to surprise and delight them and do something that they don't really expect to see? And I think that could be a really powerful tool in your marketing. The second moment we've got is moments of insight. So these are very much moments around how can you rewire people's understanding of the world. And it might be that moment when you realise now's the time I'm going to start my business, or I'm ready to go after that promotion. And it's when people suddenly see their circumstance in a new light. And a lot of what they talk about in the book is about getting people to trip over the truth. So with Business Keeps on Dancing, every time we do our panel, we're creating a moment of insight, because everyone who's tuned in today, we want to help you rewire your understanding of the world of marketing. So we're trying to think of loads of different points of views and different examples that can help you think differently to make your campaigns better. You might get fitness brands who need to rewire their audience's perception of health and their lifestyle, and making people trip over the truth is a really good way of doing that. And sometimes you need to kind of shock people into realising the way they do things could be changed. And by doing things like the panels, we create moments with everyone that's tuned in, and hopefully you guys are inspired by at least one thing that we say that you can take away and apply that to your campaigns. Third moment we've got is moments of pride. So moments of pride that feel really capture us at our best, and it's moments of achievement, it's moments of courage, it's recognising what a team member might have done and really making a big deal out of it. One moment of pride that I remember was it was my 5th anniversary at Mustard Media, which I had no idea about. And I walked into work that day and there was a massive surprise party. We had balloons, we had cake, we had Prosecco at 9 a.m. And I just really didn't even expect it. I didn't even know it was my anniversary. But when I think back to that day, it was a pretty mundane day. I don't know anything else I would have done on that day, but that is the thing that sticks out in my memory. So I think other examples that we can think of are things like, obviously last summer in lockdown, everyone got into 5K challenges, and there was a real moment in pride of achieving these different milestones as people were locked down, but people, I think, really focused on self-development. And there's something that you can do with that in brands in terms of how you create that moment of pride with a brand and the audience in themselves, that they feel really proud that they've done something, or really proud that they're part of this brand or part of a community that you've built up. And then the fourth and final type of moment is moments of connection. And I think this is a really important one that brands need to think about when building out launches, but also how to build communities. Because when you think of moments of connection, they're often social. So you've got things like weddings, things like vacations, things like sporting events. It's moments that are strengthened when you share them with other people in a social setting. That's why we all love festivals. That's why we're all, itching to get back to events as soon as we can, because it's moments that we share with other people that you can't really replicate that anywhere else. The challenge that we've got now is events can't happen and for the foreseeable, hopefully later in this year. But when it comes around to launching your event, how can you still encapsulate that feeling of social connection, that people can still feel part of something, but do it online? So if anyone tunes into the last series, you'll probably remember Bongo's Bingo came on, and they were just incredibly innovative, and they pivoted into virtual events very quick. and they knew they couldn't run their usual events as they could, so they switched to virtual events and bingo streams. And it was really fun. I tuned into them. I had my friends tuned in, kind of texting each other. They were picking out winners throughout the stream. And it really felt that, although we were all stuck at home in our living rooms, for that 1 hour, you were tuned into something that you could enjoy with other people. And it was the next best thing to experience in a social connection. We had people like Secret Cinema on in the last series, and their concept is all around people attending an event, but you all play your own part of the story. You have your own character, and there's just a sense of all these people coming together to make this thing happen at once. And I think that feels really special for everyone who's involved. They also pivoted to create that experience online, again, to create these moments of social connection that I think we're all really craving right now. If you think of all of us on the panel and everyone who's tuned in today, I think we've all really came here because often we're working at home. A lot of us are working in isolation, and it's quite nice to just come together for an hour. We all chat about our own experiences. We can kind of learn from each other, but you know, we're all chatting away in the chat. We're all helping each other answer different questions, and it really feels like a moment of social connection whilst we can't go out and be together. So I think that's a really big point to think about if you're thinking about trying to build a community. The important thing to think is you don't just want to have a brand and a customer and they just connect with each other. It's about how can you build this web of community where you've got the brand, the customer, the brand, and it's just this web of community that builds and builds and builds. And I think that all starts with moments of connection. So a really big thing to think about moving forward with your campaigns. So let's introduce our panel for today. So we've got Tom Ketley, who's the founder of Fly. We've got Nick Valentine, who's the brand director of the Yacht Week. And then we've also got Rob Starr, who's the director of Eastern Electrics. So the reason that we got these guys on today and these brands is that they are really the best in the business at engineering moments. And what we want to do is dissect some of the best moments that they've created and dig a bit deeper into the creative process behind it all and find out a bit more information about how to really craft a moment in the best way and how to leverage all of the opportunities that you can do around the launch. We want to be thinking about what challenges do you face, you know, when trying to come up with a launch moment. You know, it's one thing coming up with an idea in a meeting and then taking that through to actually execute it in the best way possible. So we're hoping that we can go through all of those examples and really pick out some of the learnings that the guys have made, and you guys who have tuned in can take away some learnings from that. So first up, we've got Tom from Fly. So thank you so much for taking the time to join us, Tom. I'm sure you guys have been really busy. How's everything going on your end?
Hello. Can you hear me okay, yeah?
Yeah, all good.
Nice one. Thanks for having me on. How you doing?
All good, yeah, not too bad, thanks, not too bad. How's everything on your side?
Yeah, good, thank you. I'm in my house just now, obviously, because we can't go to the office, but all good.
Nice one. So for anyone who's not come across Fly before, I'll give you a bit of a background into the brand and what they do. So Fly has really become renowned for throwing parties in these incredibly unique settings, and I think that's really at the heart of the brand, and it shows in everything that Tom and the team do. And it feels like, just from an outsider's perspective, that the brand was built on creating moments from its inception, really. If anyone gets any time to check out some of the parties they've done, they've had a festival that's, the backdrop is this 17th century stately home, which just looks incredible. They've got this World Heritage Site where the backdrop is the iconic Edinburgh Castle. And for me, that really feels like if I went to a party in one of them locations, I certainly wouldn't forget that in a hurry. And I know we've been lucky enough to work with the Fly team previously, and from working with you guys, to me, it really stood out that you're always trying to think outside the box with everything that you do. And I think it really shows in your branding and in all the locations that you guys run events in, your launch videos, which we're going to dig into a bit deeper. So yeah, big fan of everything that you guys are doing at Fly. I've got one question that I don't think I've ever actually asked you, so it probably makes sense to start off with this. How did Fly start, and have you always had this ethos of doing things differently?
Yeah, so it was a club night. It still is a club night. We've been, or at least it was until the pandemic hit, but it's been running every Friday since 2013 when I was a student. And some of my friends were DJs, and we just started doing the club night from there. And And yeah, from the offset, we always wanted it to be about the brand and about like our resonance. Obviously, a lot of folk on this call will know that being a promoter is like a risky business. You can lose a lot of money. I'd lost quite a bit of money doing a few things where we had guests that would come, sprinkle a bit of magic for 2 hours, and then go on to like the next party. And we kind of felt that like our parties were based on the talent. So if you didn't have a good guest, like it wouldn't necessarily be busy or whatever. So I thought, right, you know what, let's go back to the drawing board here. Let's make it about who we believe in, who we think are good, back them. And that's kind of been one of the main like success stories for us, is that a lot of those residents have gone on to become big names in dance music themselves.
Yeah.
So that when we launched the festival, we wanted to keep those ties. So we would have Dennis Sota curate the festival day, and he would pick the line up and be very much involved in the process. Same with Jasper and Theo, who would then also do the same. So we tried to keep that tied in as much as we could.
Okay, nice one, love it. One of the moments that I really remember that stood out to me from Fly, I think it was a few years back now, and it was a video that you produced to announce the Fly Open Air show with Dennis Salter. And for me, it really felt like a light bulb moment. It was really different. No one had really done it before in that way with an artist that I'd seen, and it was shared all over Facebook. I saw it everywhere, and it really got everyone talking. I did want to play the video, but I tested it before, and the playback isn't great. So I'll post a link to it in the chat if anyone wants to check it out later on. But I'd love it if you could just talk us through the concept from the top and how the idea came about.
Yeah, thanks. That was definitely like the best one we've done, and definitely the most fun I had doing it. It was like the first proper sort of video we did. Obviously beforehand, everyone, like, we were just putting out posters for lineups or whatever, and we thought, what can we do that's a bit more different, going to have a bit more impact? And I was just watching Layer Cake. So the opening sequence of that film, Daniel Craig gets in this like flashy car, he's driving up to Stoke Park, which is a big stately home down in England, and I had a light bulb moment and thought we could do something similar here. So I got on the phone to Hector, who is Dennis Silta, and said, look, I've got this idea, what do you think? And then between like him and his manager, Sarah Carley, we had like lots of chats, and he was very much like, look, I don't want, you know, I'm personally not James Bond or Daniel Craig. I don't want to have this like flashy car. I'd love to do it with the car I like to drive in, which was this old kind of like lime green Nissan Micra. It was a nightmare to get that car as well. I couldn't find it anywhere. And eventually, like, I was driving home from the office one day, and the car in front of me in the traffic lights was the exact type of model, that colour. So I literally just followed this student home to our flat, waited outside, rang the doorbell. I was like, I'm really sorry to like bother you like this, but could we rent your car by any chance? She'd be like, what? Like, that thing? You mad? And I told her the story. Luckily, she'd been to Fly, thought it was really cool.
No way.
Yeah, of course. And then, yeah, rented the car and shot the video. It was really good.
That's mad.
I was kind of there because off the back of that, we then actually ended up buying the car off the girl because the video was so well received, where Hector would leave the club where we started flying Cab Ball, drive the car up to the stately home, had these amazing shots around Edinburgh of like drones panning over the fourth row bridges, and it was really well done. Then he would like toggle into the house, and we had all the place names sat in this big fancy dining room, which would reveal the lineup. So it would have each act name set out at the table.
Yeah.
And because it was so well received, we thought, do you know what, it would be really good if we had the car at the festival. So we phoned the girl back up and we're like, you wouldn't sell us the Micro now, would you? And she was like, yeah, well, like, you know, it's not worth like a couple £100, so what can you give me for it? Bought it. And then at the festival, even now, like, I'll see so many folk would get photos with it. They were jumping on the roof, like driving the car around. And even now I'll go on Instagram or Facebook and see people's cover photos with still the silver wagon that's parked at Oakland. So it got, it definitely had the reception that we wanted. It was a big success.
Oh, great. Love it. Love it. Good story. And as I mentioned before, I think we all know, you know, the aim of the game with festivals is just getting things out as soon as we can. We're often working to tight deadlines. I know someone's put a question in the chat around how you can make the most out of limited budgets and build social strategies around that. I remember we were sat around the table a few years back, and we came up with the idea to fly a plane over Edinburgh to get everyone talking about the lineup coming out. And literally within 24 hours, I think you booked the plane, you were flying it around Edinburgh, you'd filmed it, and you just, I think the speed of execution was so key there. I've got a link to this. Let me just put a link in the chat to this plane video if anyone wants to check it out. But it had all the press were covering it, like, why the hell is this plane flying around?
Yeah, that was a funny one. That one, it was like, I think after we did that first festival, that's when I got in touch with Mustard and we started working with you guys, is that we shot this video. And obviously I've come from just promoting clubs, so I didn't have that much experience in like a big campaign and having a promo campaign that would say last like 6 to 9 months. So we needed to think about other ideas and like stages where we could build up these big moments where we could say, right, it's payday weekend, we've got 6, 7 payday weekends, what things can we put in?
Yeah.
And it was quite like an over the top extra announcement. It was like we hired this plane, flew it around Edinburgh with a banner on the back saying lineup coming soon, but it was essentially an announcement of an announcement's coming. But like you say, it got loads of press, got in the news, and it was again really fun to do. Luckily phoned the guy up, and he was just a guy in Blackpool that did banners off the back of planes. It was like January when we're doing it, which isn't a busy time for him.
Yeah.
And he was like, I can do it any day this week. I said, can you do it tomorrow? And we just went to an airstrip in Fife and flew it off. It was hilarious. But yeah, and then that then led into us doing the video and then having other things. We did like a fly taxi campaign after that as well, which was like a spoof of Fake Taxi, which is this like dodgy porn thing. But a lot of these things, like I found, if you have a bit of humour in it, it can get like reach further.
Yeah, definitely. I love that taxi campaign. I think it's important to always try and keep them moving the needle with creative ideas as well. And it's quite easy to like do one thing that works well, and you can get in the trap of following that same formula each time. And I remember we loved the Dennis Salter video. We obviously we came up with the idea to fly the plane over Edinburgh, and then I remember speaking that quite in depth with you and the team about, we were just trying to think, how can you not just do that same reveal video where you've got the artists, the names pop up, and it felt like that was becoming stale, like a bit of a stale format quite soon. And you went away and produced this incredibly artistic film to announce the lineup. I'll put a link in the chat. I just thought you executed that incredibly, and it'd be good actually if you could talk us a bit through that, because my first question was, where did you find a horse to film that so soon?
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, that one was definitely a lot more arty. I think with the going back a step to like the Salter video, the idea behind it was Fly started at the club, so he got in the car at the club, drove to the festival site, and then after that we do a festival in May and September. So the September one was actually Theo and Jasper James racing mopeds back from the site back into town to our other site, and we had this sort of story there, but it was very funny and it was well received, but we felt we couldn't replicate it. We thought, what can we do? Like, if we don't want to be too forced to try and be funny and it won't get the same reaction. So we were thinking about ideas that what makes us unique, and one of our things is our venues. So we use these unique locations. Obviously the lineup is what people are tuning in to see, but these lineups a lot of the time are the same in every city and replicated over and over. So we tried to think about like stories behind the house, and found out like when it was built in like the 17th century, and there was a story about this headless horseman, and we thought, right, we can do some spooky stuff here where we could create a bit more of an arty underground style, because we didn't want it to be too jokey. And through a friend of a friend, they had a horse, so we managed to get her. It was a lot. This one was shot a bit more professional, with beforehand it was like Del Boy and Rodney were like running around, like we had Sarah Carley, who's so was manager, like up in Edinburgh for a week, like making sure that we've done everything right. Whereas this time, because there was like animals involved and stuff like that, we had a production team and a lot more sort of behind the scenes to bring it to life. I had actors, and I even had my little brother's 12. I pulled him out of school when he was in the video, but we sort of put that together more to think about like what was the history behind the house. So it was like that was the angle with that.
Okay, great, love it. I've got the link in the chat if anyone wants to check that one out later on. I think it sounds like you have quite a lot of fun on these shoots. It sounds a bit stressful at points, but I guess that's the fun part, isn't it? And I guess festivals are fun, so why not make the process of launching them as well? But I think we're all here to, you know, at the business end of things, we need to sell tickets, and that's what we think, and we believe launch moments can help you to do. And I think there's a lot more to launches than just going out and filming a cool video and posting it out. And I wanted to ask you, how did you find, or how do you often find the launch moment ties in with the wider marketing campaign that goes into the launch?
Yeah, massive. I think that we find we can do like half of our tickets just on that launch moment. So like I said before, and you touched on it as well, there's like a long period of promo. So again, when we started out, we were maybe just thinking, right, let's just get the lineup out. And then once you've sort of played all your cards, it's like, what else can you talk about? You've got the same lineup to promote for 7 months. What else can you use? So you want to set out this timeline and have different things that you can think, right, this will work here, this will work here, this will work there. And then build up those moments. And when you get a big moment, like for example, the Sota video where everyone's tuned in, everyone's sharing it, it's always seemed to equate in ticket sales through the reaction. And it's also not just helped our brand through the customer point of view, but also like we're based up in Scotland. When we started out, it was a relatively small festival up here, and we would go to these conferences like ADE and IMS, and nobody knew who we were. But after these videos, agents would say, "Oh my God, yeah, I mean, I've seen that video," and it would help not just on the customer point of view, but it would also help on the business side. So it just helps to set you aside from other people. Like if you do stuff your own way, or if you do your own thing and put your own stamp on it, I think that is also like customers like to see that, and they like to see the creativity, and they think that that's funny, and it gives something to talk about. So they might not necessarily remember like who our lineup was, but people will remember the video.
Yeah, 100%. Like if you take the lineup out or take your product away from your brand, what's left? What you're going to talk about? What sets you apart from other people? Definitely. And lockdown certainly didn't stop you creating more moments. And although you couldn't run the festivals and events as you would, you started a new streaming channel, Music is the Answer, and I was straight on it as soon as you posted it. I didn't even think you'd done one yet, and I just knew what I was going to be in for. I knew it would be incredible. And you've been showcasing DJ sets and live performances, and again, really unique locations and stunning backdrops. Big Miz playing from a yacht on a lake was a pretty big moment. And I think
love moment, yeah.
You can say we raised the bar with it.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, that was just because there's so many beautiful locations in Scotland. So many of them we've looked at before and thought we would love to do a festival here or an event here, but they're in like the middle of nowhere, or they're like 6 hours away from civilization, and we thought, right, no one's going to come here, even though the site's amazing. It's just too far. But then when lockdown was on, we just had such itchy feet to try and showcase those places. Obviously, musicians are putting out music, and DJs have got tracks that they want to play, but there's no clubs to do it. And there was so many streams that were going on and on and on that we thought, should we do a stream? Because everyone's doing streams now. What could we do that's different? And obviously everything that we did was all about locations. So we thought, right, let's put all those locations we've got and drive around Scotland with a generator and start doing streams. And again, it was so much fun. And it was hard though, because like what you say, and like creating moments, when there was so many streams, we were doing them every week. So now we've changed it where we're now just going to do them on like big sort of time periods. Because when we started it, everyone was engaging in it and watching it. But then 6 weeks into it, we weren't getting as many views. So we thought, right, rather than like flood this with one every week, let's do like Burns Night or Hogmanay or when our festival's on, and focus on a period, and then create a marketing campaign around that date and then launch one. So we've got a few more to do that we're going to bring back this year. But again, that was through like not having a proper plan that led it to sort of fall down a wee bit. So definitely creating the moments are what would help it stick.
Yeah, you're right. And I think when people just become to expect the same thing happening each week, that's when people do start to drop off. But yeah, I'm really excited to see what you've got up your sleeve next, and I'll be keeping an eye out on what's next up on Fly and Music is the Answer. Thank you so much for joining us today, Tom. I've really enjoyed this.
No, thanks for having me. Thank you.
All right, nice one, Tom. Okay, next up we're going to go over to Nick from the Yacht Week. So he's the brand director over with the Yacht Week team, and we're going to go into a few more examples of moments that they've created in their campaign. So pleasure to have you, Nick. How's everything on your side?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Sean. Freezing my tits off, but yeah, not allowed to turn the heating on in here, which is bullshit. But yeah, no, good. Cracking on.
Good. For anyone who hasn't come across the Yacht Week before, I'd advise you just go to their Instagram, and probably within about 60 seconds, you're going to want to book a holiday. All of the content they put out is incredible. It always makes me want to book a trip straight away every time I see the content that you guys put out. And what the Yacht Week does, you guys take thousands of party goers across the world for the week of a lifetime, and it's all experienced from your very own yacht. What is not to love about that? It was great to work with you guys recently on the launch for this summer's trips, and obviously launching in the height of the pandemic was a challenge with a travel-based brand. On top of that, it was a bigger challenge, but you guys really smashed it out of the park. It was a huge success, and I think it led to one of your best-selling launches to date. So what I want to do is just dissect a bit more into some of the challenges that we had around that period, and some of the ways that we overcome them, and then find out a bit more about the creative process that you guys go through to come up with moments. So I think with the Yacht Week, there's quite a lot to get across with the event. Obviously, people aren't really used to going on a yacht and partying, at least I'm not anyway. So, the format is so jam-packed, but it means there's quite a lot to get across for people. So I remember a lot of the challenges and solutions that we spoke about was perhaps not just in one moment, but actually creating a really high impact 2-week period where we had several moments happening online, and that would help us build momentum up before the bookings opened. 2 of my favourite moments, which I'm going to put a link to in the chat, I'd recommend everyone check them out, because it's probably some of the best content I've ever seen. One of them was a daily bucket list video. So as I said before, there's a lot to get across in the programme, and you guys were actually due to go on site and do some filming. So you worked with this drone guy who, again, is just absolutely top notch. And you did like a daily bucket list, but did a complete walkthrough of the whole experience in one drone shot. And I think within, what was it, like a 30-second video, you just got a complete flavour for the whole event. And then the second idea that you just executed perfectly was the Yacht Week Unfiltered. So again, trying to get the whole experience across to people who were at home and obviously couldn't travel. We wanted to do it through the eyes of a customer, but what you just did such an amazing job on was no one really looks at things through their eyes anymore, which is quite a sad way of thinking of it. But everything's done through a smartphone. We go out, we experience moments, and really, it's a good moment when you've got people getting their phones out wanting to capture it and savor the moment. So this second video, I think I put it in the chat, is all around the whole experience of Yacht Week, but from start to finish through a phone, from like your alarm goes off, you're on Snapchat, you're on Instagram, you're playing Spotify, and it really takes you through this adventure. And I thought the way that executed was incredible. So I just wanted to dig a bit deeper into how you guys make things happen. And I think the attention to detail that you have with everything that you put out is impeccable. So taking an idea from a meeting, taking that into action is tricky. So what's the first step that you take to make things happen?
Yeah, I think just back to your first point, like Yacht Week it's quite a difficult product to get across. It's like a week on a yacht, like there's music, but we don't necessarily have like massive headliners that we can sort of like piggyback off. So it presents like a huge amount of challenges, but also like so much opportunity. So there's no abundance of ideas, and I think it was really great to work with you guys on like that process. And I often think like there's always shitloads of ideas, but it's that moment of like, once that's agreed, to turn that into actually something that you go and do. I think like Tom spoke about it really well, in the sense that he just like called up and did it the next day. And I think for me, it's about like once you've gone through the faff of going through all the ideas and you've backed your idea and you're going to do it, just like get out that meeting room and go and pick up the phone and work out what the first thing you need to do is to get it done.
Yeah.
I think it's like we were in a challenge this summer, same as everyone else, where we had a whole summer worth of content planned to film, and we couldn't. We actually ended up running 1 week in Croatia, which was a savior for us. But the process for us is, I always find that the middle bit of like an idea or a concept is the easy part, and it's that first bit with the idea and then turning that idea into the first action. And then the last part of making sure that you absolutely get the most out of the idea is also the hard part. Like the middle bit normally kind of like can take care of itself in a way. So I think that's like the two bits that we try and focus on, and that comes down to the right idea, getting on with it, getting it done, and then making sure that you're activating it across every possible channel you can.
Yeah, 100%. I actually think that you're right, that last part is so hard, and I think the devil is often in the detail when it comes to execution, and it's really easy to have a great idea and it can quite quickly fall flat just because it's not executed in the right way. I'm just keen to think about what are the you know, if you've got like a bit of a mental checklist, or what things do you look out for before putting an idea out to make sure you've got the most out of it?
I don't know, it's a weird one. I think, you know, that's kind of like our job in marketing and in the events is to work as a bit of a barometer for that. And I think my first barometer is like, would I be proud to put this out on my socials and on I mean, I don't have active socials at all, but would I want to show this to my mum, you know, or would I want to show it to like my mates? And then if you've got like the people who work in your business asking you like, oh, could I get that piece of content that you're going to make or you're going to release? Like, I want to push it out. I think like that's such a massive barometer for me. And I also think it's like, is that piece of content helping you solve a problem? Like creativity and innovation is all just problem solving wrapped up in a fluffy blanket. But I think it's like one thing that was great to work through with you guys is all the problems and, you know, things that we might come across, and then how can we solve them with our launch, because it's unbelievably important that we launch well.
Yeah, 100%. There's no point doing a cool idea because it's a cool idea and it's what's actually going to achieve.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and when we've got the idea to fruition, you know, we work off a one-pager checklist where we go through every possible channel and like, are we making sure that we're talking about this through like our network, our email, our everything like that, and just making sure that everything is absolutely amplified. I think we were fortunate to work with some really talented content creators, and like that. But anyone can do that. I think it's like the story that you tell and then the output that you make that makes the difference. Yeah,
and I think that period was a good example of how you can, you know, launch doesn't necessarily have to be around one moment. You can actually create quite a high impact by, you know, spreading several moments out. And it comes back to the idea that you can't just push a video out and hope that it sticks. It's all the build up. It's like amplifying the video on the day. It's everything that you do to follow up, and then all the moments that you create. So do you think you can create higher impact with your launch by creating several moments rather than just one?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, we when I first joined, so I actually joined just as lockdown hit in March. So it's been a pretty crazy year. It's been amazing in so many ways, but it's been absolutely mental. But I think we had a bunch of data commissioned on like our buying behavior of our audience and everything like that, which has really also helped us shape decisions around our launch. So we know that our like average consideration period, because we're like, you know, people are spending between 400 quid up to like £2,000 on their event and their yacht. You know, the consideration period is a month on average. So for our launch, a month is like way too long to try and create hype, and you can't keep that momentum up for a launch over that period of time. But we still need to give people enough time to like drive that consideration and create that urgency. So to create like multiple moments over like 2 or 3 weeks was the method that we went for, and it worked really well, because what happened was it was just like a bombardment of like different messages, different pieces of content but all like tied together around the same core message. And I think that worked really well for us, and like our community is like such a huge part of what we do, like all of our skippers and hosts, and you know, I think they were our biggest advocates, and they're sometimes our harshest critics, so in this regard. But yeah, no, it was amazing, and I think for us it was super hard to know whether to launch and at what time to launch. Like I think everyone on these questions and on this chat, and it seemed absolutely bonkers to try and launch an event for next summer, especially a travel business in October. But we did it, and we actually sold more tickets than we did last year when there wasn't a pandemic. And I think that was down to like the moments that we created and the emotion that we managed to tap into. So
great, excellent work, really good to see that. One thing the pandemic, I think, really forced brands to do was define their purpose. And I touched on it before with Tom, with the idea of, if you take your product, if you take your events, tickets, line up away from the brand, what's left there, what do you talk about? And I think that helps you, once you've really nailed what that is, I think when it comes to thinking of moments and the idea generation, it all becomes quite clear what your brand is all about. I know you guys have done quite a lot of work on this on your side. How do you approach brand purpose and the idea of storytelling through the Yacht Week?
Yeah, I think it's a massively evolving piece, and purpose has become such a buzzword now within marketing, and I've sat through countless presentations on it. But I think for me, like especially with the pandemic, it was a time of like reflection of what is our role in society. And I think our role within like events and travel for us as well is like what is our role in the world, and what do we want to help solve. And I think, you know, people need events and people need to travel. That it's like undeniable. You saw like in the 2 weeks that everyone was kind of allowed to go on holiday, I think every single person I know was in Sicily on a holiday. But I think for me it was about like working through like what the global emotion was, and it was like a really unique time, I think, for marketing and for events, in that the whole world, and you know, we're a super global business. I think we need to be able to talk in a tone of voice that resonates across the world. You know, we have like 50% of our audience is from the US, Australia, South Africa, Europe, UK, etc. So, but we're in this really unique position at the moment where the whole world is kind of feeling the same thing there or thereabouts.
Yeah.
And it was trying to like work within our purpose, which is essentially allowing people to have the opportunity to like invest in their mates and experiences. And like, how can we use our channels and our platforms to do that? And then the ideas can come from there, and then it feels genuine and it feels real. Yeah,
100%. It'd be good to hear a bit more about your background. So I know you've been such an integral part of the team at Yacht Week. You've got a background with Red Bull as well, who obviously live and breathe moments. So it'd be good to hear a bit more about your background and where you start with the process of the engineering moment.
So before Yacht Week, as I said, I joined sort of like, I was almost a lockdown joiner. I think I joined the week before the shit hit the fan, but I came from like an event marketing background at Red Bull, where like absolutely everything was about moments at Red Bull. And like on an event or on a project, it was all about like, how can you create individual moments that people will remember, exactly like what you were speaking about at the beginning. So like we would have like a mountain biking event with global mountain bikers in Wales, and we would greet them with a Welsh choir. Or when we would have like the global cliff diving, we wanted to pick the order that divers would dive in, and we took them to a field in Wales and they all had to pick a sheep. And when the sheepdog rounded up the sheep and they ran into the pen, it was like what number their sheep ran in was the order that they all dove in. And you sort of take a moment which in itself sounds pretty mundane and boring, like a selection, and change it into something that becomes like one of the key talking points of an event. And I think another year we did it where it was again in Wales. I seem to spend half my life in Wales, but they all had to pull a sword out of a stone, like Excalibur style, and that had their number at the end of it. And that was resonated across like everything that we did. I worked predominantly on the sports side, but within music and within music, etc. It was the same concept, and I think that's something that, you know, is super important to us in the events world. And I think it's like taking that, you know, I think where it's really challenging for me at the moment anyway, and for the world, is that creating moments on site at an event is a lot easier, whereas now you can't. At the moment, you can't do that. No one's on site, no one's at events. All talking points have to be created like virtually, and it's like it's super difficult. And it comes down to that storytelling and what you said at the beginning about emotion, and can you evoke an emotion? Like with that Yacht Week Through Your Phone video, that was purely like everyone's had that when they've been on holiday. Everyone knows that kind of happens. So how can, like, we just want to remind people of that and remind them about the good times. So yeah.
And it's interesting that you say that you talk about that. I think with moments, it doesn't just happen on your launch. You know, you can make them happen at the event, which is often a lot easier. I wanted to find out if there's any other ways that you've created moments for your customers. Obviously, you've got it's a travel-based company, so you're having to deal with customers day in, day out. So are there any other ways that you've created moments and really tried to go over and above for those customers?
Yeah, I think so. I think that you know, our customer service has been such an incredible part of our business, especially, and more than ever during COVID. You know, we take yachts worth of people a year, so that's 1,000 e-bookers. So that's actually not that many individuals that we talk to. So we try and actually create a relationship with those people, and that's as far as like calling our Australian guests who we know are absolutely stranded and can't travel this year, just to chat to them and find out how they are and like how they're feeling about the world. And we're not trying to sell them anything, but we just, you know, we want to get a gauge of how they're looking at the world and how they're traveling. And I think maybe another thing that we did was, you know, we ran a competition as part of our launch, and not very revolutionary running a competition, but I think the way that we positioned it was like, everyone's had a pretty shit year. Like, why do you and your crew like want to go on a yacht? And we were giving away a whole yacht, you know, pretty like high value prize. And we had like thousands of comments of people messaging in about, like, you know, telling us their stories of what's happened to them this year. And then what we did is we took a load of time afterwards to go through all those people that had written to us, and not reply to them in the comments in sort of like a vanity, like public facing way, is that we sent them all a private message and we like thanked them for like writing in. We commented on their story that they told us, and like we thanked them for that time. And actually that turned out to be the absolute best part of the competition for us, because the people's reaction was overwhelming. And like social media and everything, especially at the moment, it's a conversation, and it's super easy to hide behind being a broadcast. Yeah. Whereas, you know, we should be engaging with the people that, you know, come on our trips and all year round. Yeah, exactly. And I bet you obviously the prize in itself cost, but just replying to those people didn't cost a penny, and you've actually created. Exactly. Yeah, that was completely free, and all of them were just completely shocked that we even wrote to them. So, you know, and just happy to be spoken to, I guess. Yeah, spot on. Love that. Right, I'm gonna wrap up with you, Nick. But thanks so much for taking the time to join. I've really enjoyed listening to everything that you guys have been doing, and hopefully we'll catch up soon. Yeah, no worries, Sean. Nice one. So next up, we're going to go to Rob from Eastern Electrics. So Rob, thank you for joining us today. And can you just give us a quick hello? Just to see if you can hear us.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, I can see you as well. Great. Cool. How's it going on your side?
You know, I'm dealing with lockdown like everybody else is. I'm currently painting and decorating, which isn't my usual trade, but you know, needs must.
Yeah, that's it. I think everyone's houses and probably not gardens now, but they're going to be looking impeccable by next year, that's for sure. So yeah, let's get started with Eastern Electrics. I think for anyone who's not come across Eastern Electrics, it's a festival that takes place in the UK. Lots of house, techno, electronic music. But I think the thing that really stands out to me, I've been to the festival myself, but I've always come across a lot of the campaigns you do online, Rob. And I think the brand just really puts the fun back into festival marketing. And I think it's so easy, you know, we've got big targets, it's a stressful time with everything that's going on. It's quite easy for festival marketing to become, quite serious and quite at the business end of things. Whereas really, when you think about it, festivals and events are the funnest thing you could probably go to ever. And I think the marketing should really reflect that. And you want people to get those feelings of excitement and fun that they will get at the event. And just from looking at the content that you guys put out and the campaigns, you don't ever seem short of ideas. I think you're always kind of innovating and thinking of new stuff, but it really does show the power of moments. Like, I've come across this, and you know, I'm up in Liverpool, and I'm probably not even the maybe the target audience, but I see it all, so I just see people sharing it all the time. And it means the artists get behind it, because it's not just a poster, it's actually something quite funny and interesting that they want to share. And when I think about it, you know, I can't list the lineups that you've booked every year, but I always remember these unique campaigns that you put out, and they're the things that really stick in my memory, which, as I said before, it's a really powerful tool. So I think there's only one place to start, and it's going to have to be with the infamous Seth Troxler video. I actually tried to find a link online, but I don't know if the original one's been archived for whatever reason. But I'm going to let you explain the concept to anyone who's not come across it before.
Yeah, that was quite a while ago now. It was back in 2013, and Seth was one of our headliners that year. And I knew him quite well at the time, so fortunately I was in a position where I could sort of give him a call. And originally I was going to do an interview with him, and I said, can I come round to your house, ask you a few questions, make a video? And I got to his house, and he said, what are you going to ask me? And I showed him the questions, and he literally screwed a bit of paper up, chucked it in the bin. And he said, no, that's boring. He said, everybody does Q&As, like, it's not interesting. Let's do something fun. And I was like, brilliant, yeah, what do you want to do? And it was actually his idea. He said, how about I get naked? And, you know, I wasn't going to say no. I was like, yeah, brilliant. And as soon as he said it, I knew that video would go viral. And yeah, he was just really great. And we will have to get, I'm sure I must have a copy of the video somewhere that we can post for people. But yeah, it was really amazing video that did go viral, and that we have also used again and again, like, because it was done so long ago. We put it out every couple of years, and we always get new audiences and people who haven't seen it, and it always gets shared like quite a lot, and almost acts as a promo video for that year's festival, even though it was filmed like 7 or 8 years ago.
I always see it pop up every few years. Like, I think media press pick up on it sometimes. It always seems to crop up again in my feed somewhere. But there you go. It's like one video that's lasted a lifetime almost. Yeah. But we'll definitely try and find a link, or if anyone can find one in the chat. I think it'd be good for everyone to check out. And that was a long time ago, wasn't it? That was before I'd ever seen anyone do anything on that let alone getting naked. And I think that was probably a snowball effect of people starting to think differently of how they can use the talent and how they can launch things. From looking at a lot of the ideas that you do, I love how you take a lot of inspiration from modern culture. So everything from TV to game shows. I feel like you really look outside of your own world and think, what's everyone else doing? What can I get inspiration from? And it's actually quite easy to apply that to festivals. And you've done that in the way that's really created these memorable moments. So what I want to do is just jump into a few of my favourites and pick your brain about the process behind them. So I'll send a link in the chat for the first one. And this was Family Fortunes, but obviously with the EE standing for Eastern Electric. So the attention to detail on this campaign, I think, was incredible. It literally looked like it could be on TV. So I'm going to hand over to you and tell us a bit more about the concept and how it all came together.
Yeah, I've got to give props here to Zaina Rad, who managed our marketing for the last 4 years. And this was actually her and her team's idea, and they work on Love Saves the Day Festival in Bristol as well. But yeah, this was our most expensive campaign. A lot of the sort of stuff we've done has been really sort of cheap, and we've sort of thrown it together. But this one, we had a proper studio. We had Barry from EastEnders. We made props. We had obviously all the DJs in. So we had to hire a proper studio with a green screen to film everything. So it was quite involved, and it was a full day filming, and there was a lot of editing involved as well. And we did create quite a few videos out of it. So it wasn't just the one video. We had sort of several videos that we could use as well. But in terms of cost, it was definitely the most costly video that we've done.
Yeah, and have you found a difference between the more low budget videos versus high budget? Because sometimes the rough and ready stuff is actually what connects with people.
Yeah, I mean, I'll always say, you know, you don't have to spend loads and loads of money on this stuff. And yeah, the Seth video that we did was really cost effective. We did a goggle box one that was really cheap as well. We just did that in my flat. So yeah, you don't have to spend loads of money, and sometimes those cheaper, more cost-effective videos are the ones that become the viral ones. Yeah,
definitely. The next one I've got is, this one was carpool karaoke. So if anyone's come across James Corden's sketch that he often does with celebs, where he drives around LA, I imagine, asking a few questions and singing a few songs. You've done your own spin on it, and when I saw this, I thought it was genius, and I was so gutted that I hadn't thought of this.
So that's probably my favourite one, to be honest with you. And again, like, you know, we saw how viral the carpool karaoke was, so we're just taking an idea that somebody else has done and putting our own spin on it, using the DJs. Like, we used my old school BMW. I was doing the driving. And again, it was once we got the DJs engaged and got them up for doing it, it was quite an easy concept to do. Obviously, my singing's not great, so that didn't help things. But that's also part of the fun of it, I suppose.
Yeah, well, it's a big task trying to convince Hot and 82, Sam Divine, and Scream to drive around with you, belting some tunes out the car. How did you get them? How did you win them round? How did you get them involved?
I mean, most of them, we know a lot of the DJs. I've been putting parties on for over 20 years, so a lot of the people that we book, we've been booking them for quite a few years, and we've seen their careers progress. So, you know, and we go out and we party with those people. So sometimes it can be a phone call to the DJ. Quite often we will have to go through management or have to go through their agents, but a lot of the time they want to do stuff with us. And I think maybe because they know it's going to be fun, they know it's going to get good virality on socials. And yeah, I think the main thing is that it's a laugh, and that's what we do. We don't try and be too cool for school. And, you know, I think a lot of the DJs appreciate that, and they want to get involved with that as well. And I think it's about coming up with a good concept. If your concept's good and you've proven that you can deliver on previous ideas, then I think you get the buy-in from the DJs through that.
Yeah, it's a good point, because I've sat down with many promoters and we've been thinking of and different marketing teams, and we're thinking of, you know, what can we do? Oh, let's try and do something with the artist. And 9 times out of 10, it's really hard to get the artist to buy into it. But it's interesting. Obviously, you seem to have a really good relationship with them. But I think if the idea is good enough, if it's different, if it's something that actually, you know, is something that they'd be up for getting involved in, then you've got a better chance from the get-go of them getting involved. And if they know, you know, you're going to get loads of spend behind it, it might get press, it might be this viral moment, then it's in their interest to take part, and they'll get a bit more promo from it as well.
We try and make it easy for them as well. Like when we did that, Hot Since 82 was in Ibiza, so we literally flew to Ibiza, and, you know, I picked him up and I drove around Ibiza with him. So, you know, it's about making it easy for the artist as well. And, you know, quite often we'll bend over backwards to go to where they are, rather than, you know, expecting them to come to us. Or if you make it easy for them, then it's harder for them to say no.
Yeah. Good advice. I think it's quite clear from the brand that the types, when it comes to coming up with a moment or a campaign or an activation that you want to do, it's quite clear that the brand's all around fun. And I think, you know, even if you've never been to your event, I think you could get a flavour and the vibe of it from the type of content that you do. Do you find that the moments that you create online reflect the brand? Like, what's the brand all about? Like, what do you think sets you apart from competition?
Yeah, I think, like you say, we don't take ourselves too seriously, and, you know, that is definitely reflected at the event as well. And we, like in our videos, we want to pay attention to detail. Like at the festival, we had a swimming pool on site last year, for example, and we want to have moments on site like we create the moments in the video. And, you know, I think your content needs to reflect who you are and what you are as a festival. And I think we do that really well. And we want to sort of push boundaries with what we do with the production on site. And we always have a little non-musical area where people can just go and have fun, and they might play beach volleyball there, or, you know, they might get their fortune told, or, you know, they might wander into a little tent and there's some mad stuff going on. Like we had a Alice in Wonderland sort of themed area in the VIP last year. And, you know, you can't always get that across in your marketing, but if people know that they can expect the unexpected from your brand, then you're sort of trying to reflect that in your videos as well.
Yeah, definitely. What's been your favourite moment that you've created?
I really enjoyed doing Scream on a rickshaw. So we bought an old rickshaw and we got Scream to DJ on it. We got a little sound system on the back and we rode it around central London, and we ended up parking up outside Radio 1, and Scream had just finished his residency at Radio 1, and we just turned the music on full blast, and we had all the security from Radio 1 come out and they put it on Newsbeat in the afternoon, and yeah, that was pretty good fun.
Nice one, love it. We'll try and find some more links to these later on as well and get them in the chat. What I want to know is what's been the most challenging idea to execute. I'm sure it's not easy to get these artists running around London and driving them around the city and making it all happen, really. What's been the most challenging part of it?
I mean, they all have their different challenges. I think actually the family fortunes was the most involved, and it required, you know, a lot of pieces to the jigsaw to make that happen. But they all have their own unique challenges. When we did the rickshaw with Scream, a few people on our team started to get worried that the police were going to arrest us and we were going to get stopped because we had this massive sound system. And, you know, even when we did the Eats open top bus, the bus got stuck halfway down Brick Lane. The driver couldn't get it up Brick Lane and he couldn't get it down Brick Lane. So, you know, you always have little challenges, whatever you're doing. But I think the key is that, you know, once you decide on these things, you've just got to do it. And there might be a number of hurdles that you're gonna come across, but, you know, if you have belief that you can deliver it, then you'll always get through them.
Is there such a thing as a bad idea in your book?
I think it's only a bad idea if no one engages with it and nobody's interested in it. And, you know, as long as you've got people engaging and as long as you've got people talking about it, then I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, definitely. I think another thing to consider, and Tom and Nick have both touched on it, is the idea, obviously the series, and today we are focusing on launches. But the other thing to consider is you can't just go out with a massive launch moment and hope that's going to sell at the festival. And you've got so many points in the campaign that you need to keep people engaged with. So do you find that, do you usually plan several moments throughout the whole campaign and try and spread them out? Yeah,
pretty much all of the moments that I've talked about, we haven't put those out for launch. We'll tend to do something around the launch and we'll obviously try and make our launch interesting and engaging, but we'll always look for a bigger moment. And our festival's in August and we normally put the lineup out in February. So we'll look for that midpoint in sort of April, May, when our tickets are maybe slowing down a little bit. And that's when we'll go normally for our big moment. And it doesn't always lead to a massive spike in sales at that particular point, but it re-engages your audience and it tells people that you're still there and it keeps that conversation going. And I think it's really key to have, it doesn't have to be a major moment, but you need to have those little moments because you can't keep talking about the tickets and the lineup and, you know, all those or maybe less interesting things for 7 or 8 months because your audience is going to switch off. Yeah. Have you got anything, have you started to plan any moments that you'd want to make happen in future, or is that still in the works at the moment? It's really difficult at the moment because everything's so up in the air, and one thing that we were talking about yesterday is maybe looking at what DJs are doing during lockdown. I think that's a really interesting idea. Maybe shouldn't give all my ideas away on here, should I?
Don't worry. I won't give all your secrets away. I'll be tuned in. I'm really excited to see what you guys do next. And thank you so much for joining us today and taking the time out.
No problem.
I've enjoyed all your little stories of how to make it all happen. It's been fun. All right, nice one. Thanks, Rob.
Cool. Thanks a lot.
Okay, so that's a wrap from the panelists today. It'd be good to hear what everyone found the most value from. Are there any favourite examples that you've got from today? Let us know. Let us know in the chat, and we'll be on the Facebook group afterwards as well. If anyone wants to, if anyone's got any questions or wants to keep the conversation going. Thanks to everyone who's tuned in, and obviously our wonderful panelists for sharing their thoughts and insight. So the last episode of this series is coming up in Feb. I haven't actually got the date yet. Callum, could you put the date in the chat for the next panel? And with the next topic that we've got coming up, we want to tackle the challenges that you face post-launch, and it's something that we've touched on quite a lot in the discussions today. And you know, you've launched, you've got your lineup out there, you've got your tickets out there. The next challenge is to think, how can you keep your momentum going? How do you keep ticket sales going? How do you keep people engaged up until the festival? Because it's a long campaign, and there's a lot of information to get across. But how do you keep the sales and keep the engagement coming throughout the campaign? So you can register for that one on our website, and we're going to reveal the panelists this week. So stay tuned on our socials, and we'll have all the information on that released later this week. We've also got a new series that we're currently planning, and yeah, we're going to take a bit of a different twist with that one, and you know, practice on what we've preached today. We don't want to stick to the same format all the time. So we've got a few ideas on the next series that we're working on, but everyone who's inputted with their thoughts today, that's been really helpful for us to take forward to the next series. The last thing we need to do is announce the competition winner. So hopefully they're still tuned in the chat, but if not, we can reach out to them separately. Callum or Ryan, can you let us know who we've picked as the winner, for people who told us what they want to see next time? And then once we've announced the winner, if you just get in touch with me or the Beacard channels, we'll arrange getting that book sent out. So Ryan or Callum, have we got a winner? Massive drum roll. The suspense is killing me. Carrie, there we go. Okay, Carrie, congratulations. Get in touch with us, and we'll send a copy of this book out, and hopefully it inspires you as much as it has with us. And yeah, thanks for tuning in. I think Callum's let us know it's the 4th of Feb for the next panel. Topic's going to be So You've Launched, What Next? And we're going to reveal the panelist hopefully tomorrow, so stay tuned. And yeah, thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you guys next month. See you later.